Well, I think it's pretty clear
just,
now it wasn't 2 hours. They seem to have diverted
no, it
to
was
a police station for at least, it looks like half of that time.
Sounds like South Park has got a sequel.
Well, welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. We now have a little exclusive because we are joined by the man who was the taxi driver in this, well, part of this wild car chase with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Sonny Singh was driving his yellow cab last night and picked them up and went off for 10 minutes and then brought them back, it seems. Joins me now live from New York. Mr. Singh, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
No problem. How are you doing?
Could you tell me exactly what happened last night?
So I was crossing on 67th Street, going west on 67. By the precinct, there was security standing there. They hailed me, and they said, "Are you empty?" I said, "Yes." And they told me to pull aside. As I pulled to the side, Prince Harry and his wife and another lady jumped into my cab, and they seemed very nervous. And as we went a block, we were blocked by a trash truck, and then all of a sudden, paparazzi just came out of nowhere, and just flashes just went off.
How many paparazzi would you say there were when you had them in your cab?
I want to say six that I seen, and there were about 2 cars following us as the trash truck moved, and there was 2 cars following us. And
where did they want to go?
Well, they were just about to say the location where they were gonna go, but then the paparazzis came, and the security guard said, "Hey, listen, just circle back to the precinct."
So they had a security guard in the cab as well?
In the cab, yes. Okay, and you see him in one of the pictures. He's sitting next to me.
Were you surprised that they were in your cab?
Not so much. We get celebrities in the city all the time, so not so much.
We know that the paparazzi...
in New York City, you don't know who you get.
Right.
You don't know who you're going to pick up in New York, right? So.
Right, and that's true. But, I mean, in your experience, was the paparazzi attention any more or less than it would be for other major celebrities?
No, for them it was more. It was a lot more because I had other celebrities in my cab as well. But this one, because they just surrounded the car and just went crazy with the camera.
And how would you describe?
Yeah, go ahead.
How would you describe how Harry and Meghan were about this?
They were nervous. You could see the look on their face.
Did they talk to you at all directly?
No, not as much. I mean, when they were exiting, they say, "What's your name?" And I said, "Sonny," and that's like, "Have a good night." And then they exited, and then they went back into the SUV again.
It's been categorized that there was a 2-hour wild car chase through the streets of New York, but was the time
that must have happened before me.
So there was no like car chase when you were there.
Not when they got into my cab. We just went around the block, and 2 cars were tailing us behind us with a camera, and that was it.
And then you went back to where you'd actually picked them up?
Yes, we went back to the precinct, and then they exited, and they thanked me, and I thanked them as well, and then they exited my car.
Did they remember to pay you, Sonny?
Yeah, they paid well.
So what's your view about this? You've become the most famous cab driver in New York tonight. What's your view about this incident?
I don't know about that. There's another one that's on TikTok. He has a bunch of celebrities in his cab, and he's even got pictures with them.
Do you think it's been overblown, this incident, or not?
I don't know what they went through last night, right? Because I only had an interaction with them for 15 minutes, and they seemed very nervous while they were in my cab.
Okay, well, Sonny, listen, I appreciate you joining me, the man at the centre of the storm, quite literally. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure talking to you too.
All the best. Okay, well, joining me now is the Sunday Times columnist Charlotte Ivers, the associate editor of The Mirror, Kevin Maguire, and from New York, Fox News contributor and former bodyguard to Snoop Dogg, amongst others, Tyrus. Well, Tyrus, let me start with you. You're in New York. You've been a bodyguard to a major star. What do you make of this story?
Man, you know what? It sounds much to do about nothing. If it was anybody else, it's just that, are they still the royal family, or they still don't want to be a part of it, but want to be a part of it, whatever their issue is? They just come across so thirsty all the time they drink seawater. But it didn't sound to me like it was that big of a deal. You're in New York. It's going to be crowded. Maybe have your publicist stop calling paparazzi and tell them where you're at. To get in a cab to go around the corner and come back seems silly. When I was with Snoop and we were approached by paparazzi, or he was ever made to feel nervous, I would have got out of the cab and confronted them, and typically make an example out of one guy with the camera, and the rest would follow. So it just seems like it was more staged than anything else. And of course, a 2-hour car chase in New York. Where were you going? 15 miles an hour? It's New York. You can't move.
Well, Miller Lite is the latest beer brand facing a stunning backlash for a man-bashing ad. The US beer famously used Playboy models in its signature campaigns throughout the 90s and early 2000s. Meghan Markle, of course, went on to be a suitcase girl on Deal or No Deal, fronted this ad for the brand in 2010. But their new commercial strikes a rather different tone.
Here's a little-known fact. Women were among the very first to brew beer ever. From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow. Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their but the whole beer industry's
Terrible. Aren't men awful? Awful. Women in bikinis. Shocking. Who would have thought any woman would want to be in a bikini? Admired by men. I mean, it's just the last thing you'd be wearing a bikini for, right? Its parent company has trashed its own brand's mud wrestling catfight ad from 2003 in its defense, saying women shouldn't be forced to mud wrestle in order to sell beer. Why not? I thought mud was good for the skin. Competitor Bud Light's notorious campaign featuring influencer Dylan Mulvaney has so far cost the company more than $6 million in market capitalization. I think it was $6 billion actually, because actually it turned out men didn't want to be told that they're idiots and that actually this beer was aimed at transgender women who are biological males who are pretending to be women. So are they using the power of advertising to make a powerful and progressive social point to these companies, or just deliberately self-harming themselves by alienating their core customers? I'm joined by former Levi's brand president Jennifer Say, political journalist Ava Santino. All right, well, welcome to both of you. Jennifer Say, there seems to have been a run of these kind of adverts. And it goes back, I think, to the infamous Gillette one in the wake of the Me Too campaign, which was a perfectly laudable campaign. I'm not knocking it at all, but the Gillette campaign that ran after it, which basically, rather than celebrating masculinity, became a tirade of abuse about effectively all men are awful monsters unless they can prove otherwise. And Gillette lost, I think, $9 billion off the bottom line until they did a complete reverse ferret and went back to celebrating masculinity again. And we're going to see the same thing with Bud Light. I suspect we'll see the same thing with Miller Lite. What is going on here? Why are these companies surrendering to this, well, what Elon Musk would call the woke virus?
Well, I would, having been in the boardrooms and executive rooms for a very long time, I would call it woke washing. It may be a cynical take, but I can tell you it is true. These brands are thinking if we align ourselves with the perceived values of younger consumers, Gen Z and millennials, they'll like us and they'll buy our product. We don't have to talk about product. We don't have to talk about product benefit. We'll just align ourselves with their values so that we can make money off of it. And it's a virtue signal to distance themselves from, past campaigns, the greedy business magnates of the past. And it also serves to conceal the less altruistic business practices. So it's a lie. And that shielding works. The press generally is all in on it. They're able to avoid scrutiny from the press by taking these stances. And they just don't think about the fact that half the consumer base is not aligned. They just aren't. And that insulting your consumer is not the way to go.
Yeah.
Usually if you insult the consumer, they're going to reject the product.
And they're catching a gigantic financial cold. So, Ava, here's my issue about this. What is wrong with using sexy women in bikinis to sell beer?
Well, I think actually your commentator explained it perfectly there. You are alienating half of your base. This is
Why would a woman find that offensive?
Well, hang on. This is a person here who apparently was in the boardroom for Levi, but doesn't understand that actually women are consumers, and perhaps maybe they are going to now spend half of the business.
You're not answering my question. Why would women be offended by attractive women posing in bikinis to sell beer?
I'm not offended by attractive women. I am offended by men over-sexualizing women. And do you know what? Do you know what it is? Piers, a lot of men can't control themselves. A lot of men think that if they buy that beer,
well,
they
this mud wrestling ad,
they are
for
then
example.
entitled
I
to
think it
touch women in
celebrates
this
womanhood
way.
and it celebrates the beauty of mud, which we all know is good for the skin.
That's
What's wrong with it?
ridiculous. Come on, let's actually think. What are we watching here? What
mud
has this got
wrestling.
to do with beer? Why am I going to buy this product? I'm a big
You know
beer
why?
drinker.
Because it was a joke. And there used to be a time, pre-wokery, when you were allowed to just have a joke. The women were in on it, the men were in on it, everybody laughed, nobody got offended. Now, people watch that kind of ad and they literally go nuts.
I would argue
they find themselves being electrified in a triggering manner. They have to go and hide in a safe space. Then they launch marches down main busy thoroughfares because of a joke. What has happened to that light hand on the tiller? Why do we care so much? Why have we now got to be exposed, men, to all these adverts doing a kind of reverse assault on us?
Have you considered that maybe it's not all about men? Maybe there are actually a large proportion of females that would like to see adverts that don't include scantily
Why
clad women?
why is Bud Light's market cap just disintegrating?
Now that's a different topic altogether. I think I think you could see there is some merit in we don't need to sexualise women in order to sell beer. The Bud Light thing is different.
You sexualise yourselves in lots of women's magazines and indeed in men's magazines.
I don't think I did anything of the sort.
You may not have done
actually.
personally. It's only a matter of time,
Maybe
though, Ava. Now that you're a television superstar, when the money comes from GQ, I'm not saying you will. I'm just saying, normally in my experience, that will happen. Now, Johnny Depp was vindicated at his recent trial in America, with Amber Heard ordered to pay him $10 million and basically exposed as a liar. So does Johnny Depp have the right to relaunch his career, or is Hollywood being hypocritical by celebrating someone who'd even been accused of such behaviour and, of course, lost a libel case in the UK? Well, joining me now is Nick Wallace, author of Depp v. Heard, The Unreal Story, and the family law barrister Paula Roan Adrian. OK, Nick, it's an interesting thing. Johnny Depp welcomed like a movie star, as he has been since he won this case in America. Been mobbed, but he doesn't have a completely clean slate because he lost the libel action in the UK. A judge ruled that the Sun, basically, by calling him a wife beater, that they were entitled to do that. So it's messy. And there's no doubt that this relationship with Amber Heard was extremely mutually toxic and abusive. It just comes down to how you categorise who was more to blame and what the abuse was like, which I think your book does in a lot of detail. I think the point about Johnny Depp tonight is, should he be continued to be feted as a blemish-free movie star in the way we're seeing at the Cannes Film Festival?
Well, I'm sure he would say he had the right to do that, having got the verdict that he did in Virginia, and this huge wave of public support that followed it all the way up to.
Well, what about the other verdict in London?
Well, this is always going to be the fly in the ointment. Mr. Justice Nicol, a learned, respected judge, spent 3 months looking over the transcripts, the evidence, and all the contemporaneous documentary evidence, which he did place a huge amount of weight on. And after 3 months, he came down very firmly in favour of the Sun.
Yeah.
Amber Heard was the star witness in that trial. He essentially believed what she had to say and ruled that on 12 separate occasions, Johnny Depp did physically abuse.
So where does that leave? Where does that leave him in the court of public opinion? You've got to say Johnny Depp appears to pretty well be unanimously the winner.
Well, he is the winner, but as you know, it's all about the money, isn't it? And this has now come out of the courts and is now in the hands of the Hollywood studios. Johnny Depp has been on this incredibly well-managed rehabilitation arc since last year. He went on tour with Jeff Beck, was mobbed everywhere he went.
Dior just gave him a $20 million contract, the highest ever for a man with a fragrance.
He's
right?
co-producing a movie with Al Pacino. This is a really important step on his road to rehabilitation, opening the Cannes Film Festival. He's got European movie makers behind him, standing ovation in the theatre. What he needs now is to get to Hollywood. He needs Disney to say, OK, you can have a lead part or a bit part in the next Pirates movie.
Paula, should Hollywood or a firm like Disney do that with Johnny Depp? Does he deserve to be brought back? I mean, the hypocrisy of the Cannes Film Festival, it's an incredibly glamorous event. I've covered it many times myself, but they feted people like Roman Polanski, who's a fugitive child rapist, who escaped justice for what he did. So they've got a long history of tolerating this kind of thing. They do say, some of the festival organisers, they prefer to celebrate the arts rather than the person, which is an easy get out, but some people do think that. Where do we stand with Johnny Depp, though?
Celebrating the art and not the person. I would accept that if it was Amber Heard who was on the red carpet. I would accept that.
Why would you?
I would accept that we were celebrating the art and not the person. If it was Amber Heard who hadn't lost her L'Oreal contract, I would accept that we were celebrating the art and not the person. If Amber Heard wasn't hounded by 4.5 million people to sign a contract so that she didn't get to partake in the Aquaman 2 role. But we're not celebrating the art. We clearly are celebrating the person. And this is what concerns me, particularly when we know that 2 women a week die because of abuse from their partners. We are celebrating
an American court trial determined at the end of it that they didn't believe her, that she was a liar. It is clouded by what happened in London, no question. But the most recent test of the veracity of both of their claims about what went on that marriage was an unequivocal win for Johnny Depp. And he has taken that, as you would understand.
It was a 2-1, wasn't it? It was a 2-1.
Yeah, but he won.
So, you know, in terms of the finances, he came out better, of course, than Amber did. What Amber wanted was that unequivocal win, the same win that she was able to obtain.
But she didn't get it.
On behalf of the Sun, and she didn't get it.
So why shouldn't he be allowed to continue with his career?
I haven't said he shouldn't be allowed to continue with his career. What I'm concerned about is the fact that they're not being treated equally. And what we have is a society who seems to accept that it's OK for a man to be an abuser, but it's not OK for a woman.
Welcome back. Damning figures today revealed that obesity costs British taxpayers almost £14 billion a year. Obese patients cost the British Health Service twice as much as those of a healthy weight. But the body positivity movement preaches that fat is now fabulous, and that its craze is fatfluencers who rake in cash by boasting about, well, being fat.
What I eat a day is a fat bitch. Let's go. I don't know how many times I have to tell you bitches, I'm going to start my morning off with a Starbucks iced coffee.
I had a Mackey's and then I had a few mouthfuls of this cake, but it wasn't as...
Oh yeah, come on, you get the limo out front.
Really? That's what people are watching? Apparently. Well, TikTokers like my next guest are putting the pound in excess pounds.
The new Hot 30i is just $89.99. Do you like sweets? Well, you can get 2 kilos of sweets for £10.
Promoting obesity.
No, I'm promoting a good deal. $25.99 for 63 rolls of toilet paper. A donut maker from Tower. All of these products have 2-year warranty. A candy floss maker and a chocolate fountain.
OK, so I'm joined by TikTok star George Keyword, who you just saw there, and Sienna.
Bargains.
Huh?
That's what I say, bargains.
Bargains, all right. And his wife, Sienna, and the host of the Blair White Project, Blair. Why? OK, listen, Blair, I'll come to you in a moment. First of all right, George, let me get to some stats.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how much do you weigh?
Look, I'm not going to talk about numbers because the thing is, I
think you should. I mean,
no. The thing is, if I give you the number of how much I weigh, it's going to be all over the Sun, all those trashy newspapers tomorrow morning. I don't need it. Don't need it.
Well, you don't need it. You're on TikTok every day showing us how big you are.
Yeah, and look,
and you're proud of it.
No. There's a difference. There's proud, and then there's just being positive in my own skin, and that's what I am.
Right.
I'm not proud to be fat.
Would you accept that by medical definition you are morbidly obese?
Look, if that's what medically you want to call it, then call it.
Well, no, you know your weight, I don't.
No. But that's, yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
Right, so here's my issue with this body positivity thing. People shouldn't be celebrating being morbidly obese, in my estimation.
But that's
because actually it is a dangerous condition that causes many people to die.
Look, you've got a fair point. It is dangerous. It can lead to dangerous issues, which could, diabetes and so on. And that is an issue. But we don't encourage gaining weight. There's a difference between the videos you just showed on the screen and what we're talking about now.
You're doing this. These TikToks are all geared to you.
No. You're showing people encouraging eating food. I'm just saying, wow, look at the pizza. Look, it's from Costco. It's nice.
No, you're not. You're not. You are. Sorry, George.
That's what I'm doing.
You are glorifying. Scoffing.
It's called taking the piss. That's what it is.
Well, maybe.
That's what it is.
It's
having a laugh and not taking yourself too seriously.
Why is it funny?
Because it is funny. You know it is funny.
It's
You had a
not
little
funny.
smirk yourself before.
I actually don't
you
find
see
this
it
kind of thing
yourself.
funny. I think
No, come on.
I actually think it's quite sad.
It's not sad. It's comedy.
Let me bring him.
It's satire comedy.
Well, maybe.
You know it is. You know it is. You know it is, Piers. I've been an actor for 13 years.
George,
you know
George,
damn right I know how this industry works.
George, I'll come back to you in a moment.
Come on.
Let me just go to Blair White in Austin, in Texas. Blair, I do have a problem with this because I think it's celebrating a dangerous health condition. And if you're an influencer, why would you want to influence people to think that that is A, funny, entertaining, and B, something they want to do?
Well, you should have an issue with it. You know, my opinion is that the fat positivity movement is a death cult. You know, I'm all about living my life on my own terms, being happy, finding a partner that makes me happy. But, you know, life is short, so you have to find happiness. But what cuts it in half is being obese. Your life will literally end halfway of the length that you would live being obese. And so promoting it, you wouldn't be able to be anorexic on TikTok and not get comments about how you need to eat a cheeseburger, how you need to gain weight. And you can write it off as trolls, but it's the truth. You know, I've seen some TikToks made by him where he is addressing people telling him that he needs to lose weight as trolls and sort of making fun of it. And I just wonder, you know, is it really trolls? I mean, certainly there are mean people on the internet, but there is some truth to it. I mean, I know that he is a father, and the idea that you will, in all likelihood, in all certainty, actually not live past 50, 60 years old is an issue. So for me, you know, okay.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. That's my view.